This is the 10th year of Pokemon Go, and most people didn't think we'd even make it this far. Because honestly, for a year or two, it kind of looked like it was all over. But so far in 2026, we've had one of the greatest comebacks of Pokemon Go, almost as good as the 2020 revival. And today I'm going to explain why it's happening, what's so fun now compared to a year ago, and what this means for the future of the game we all know and love. For starters, I kind of just want to reminisce on a lot of the things that we were complaining about as a community that I think kind of aided to the downfall of Pokemon Go over the last couple of years. Some big things being events started to suck. The major events didn't feel that major. They weren't that fun. It felt like a lot of repeat things happening. The events that happened kind of on a weekly basis sort of all blended into each other. It was a lot of the same Pokemon spawning over and over again. There wasn't really anything exciting or creative about a lot of the events, and it just wasn't that fun. There was obviously a huge push by the original developers, Niantic, to get people outside walking around. So features like raid passes and really just raid events and anything that had to do with staying at home was nerfed, and there wasn't that much added into the wild to make it more exciting and more fun to go outside and play, even though all of the events and features kind of oriented around that. And honestly, I think that was kind of the big problem with Pokemon Go over the last couple of years. Niantic, who owned the game, were preparing Pokemon Go for a major sale where they sold it for, what, $4 billion? They all made a ton of money, and like GG's to them, right? But in preparation to do that, they kind of dragged Pokemon Go through the mud a bit to prepare the game for a sale. We saw a lot of premium features like the Go Pass and other things that required money. The game started feeling really pay to win, even though it wasn't that exciting or fun to play. They needed to fluff it up a little bit, prop up the revenue and stuff so that it was a much bigger, juicier piece of meat to sell, right? Not to call us all a big juicy piece of meat, but hey, it's business at the end of the day. And another big thing is that Niantic was using, and we now know this as a fact, Niantic was using Pokemon Go to train and farm AI-based location data. And they took all of our data, which I'm okay with this, I guess. Like I think the older I get, the more concerned I am with like my privacy as a citizen, and the more against this I become. But we all had a lot of good memories with Pokemon Go, and I think we all knew deep down that our location data and all of the things that we were doing in game was going to be used inevitably to be trained or sold or something. Like Niantic was not just doing this for fun. And it was very obvious. There's been a lot of reports coming out lately showing exactly what our Pokemon Go data went to. Niantic has been selling it apparently to major governments, to a bunch of like startup companies and different companies all over the world. Those little robots, this has been, I think it's silly that this is the breaking news that trended across the internet, because I think that the way that our data was sold, there's a lot bigger ways that probably should be talked about rather than delivery robots, but it feels like that was kind of a good scapegoat to make sure we all didn't talk about the real stuff, I guess. But delivery robots, those little delivery robots that drive around, they were trained on our Pokemon Go Niantic captured data, right? So like that's why the game sucked. It's not rocket science, right? The game was being basically positioned to be sold, so everything felt very expensive with very little value in return, so that there was more profit. It was being positioned to be sold, and our data was just being farmed as aggressively as possible, probably before they sold the game, so that they can get as much data as possible, because I think they kept that, so that they could sell it and make as much money off of that as possible after selling Pokemon Go. So at the end of the day, we all know, and we're all sober to the fact it lives in the back of our mind, that Pokemon Go is a business, right? It was created by a for-profit tech company, and it was amazing and it was fun, and we got to free to play the game, which is very cool. There was obviously, it's freemium, right? So it's like you don't get a lot when you free to play, but like you could free to play it. And even if you spent on it, you didn't have to spend that much in Pokemon Go to have fun compared to other freemium games like Clash of Clans or Clash Royale, which you have to spend a lot of money to have fun. You know, so like Pokemon, and I came from Clash of Clans, so like I have felt the difference, right? So Pokemon Go was fun. It was balanced. It's been a great time. We've all made fantastic memories. Like, I'm not mad about it. I'm sure many of you aren't mad about it. At the end of the day, it's just reality. It's how this works. But that's why the game sucked the last couple of years, is because the focus was not on the player base. It was not on the player experience. It wasn't on fun. It's not where all the funding and I'm sure development power was going into. It was going into the propping up of profits and the farming of data, right? And now that's over. And it's ironic because when Pokemon Go announced that they were selling the game to Scopely, it seemed like a lot of the community was like up in arms about it. They're like, oh, like this game is dead. Pokemon Go is going to die. Scopely's going to put ads before you catch a shiny Pokemon. Like, this is going to be the worst thing ever. It's going to, you know, we all remember that, right? Like we all, like not we all, but everyone freaked out about it. I would like to think I had a level head around that situation, but did you know it's a cognitive fact? It's a psychological fact. You are not good at recognizing when you were wrong. If you had an opinion and you changed it at some point and the opinion that you previously had was wrong, you more likely will not remember that you had a wrong opinion. It's how our brains work. It's like a survival thing, I guess. I don't know. But that's funny. So I don't really remember what I was saying when Scopely was being sold, but I would like to think that I had a level head about it, although I'm sure I didn't. Many of us didn't. So, but they sold the game to Scopely, and then Scopely, new owners of the game, have had the game, they've been operating it for maybe like 6 months now, 6 months, 8 months, like officially, maybe even less. And I'm gonna be honest with you, dude, the game's great. The game's fun. It's fantastic. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But the main one is the fact that Pokemon Go now is no longer being used to farm data. Now, I'm sure Scopely are farming data. I'm sure they're selling it in the same way that Niantic did. Like, data is the most important thing right now. The most important resource in the world is data and oil, right? So, like, data is very valuable. They're obviously going to farm that and sell that and, like, whatever, like, I have fun with the game. You can have the data, I guess. But the focus now with Scopely running the show is player experience. Like, the Pokemon Go team has been focused on experience, on fun, on making the game run very smoothly, and the events very fun, and they want to give people things to spend money on, and the people who don't want to spend money still get cool things too, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. Generally speaking, you can end the video after I say this, I guess, to get the gist, but I'm going to give a bunch of specific examples, and again, I'll talk about what this means for the future, but I'll try to slow down when I talk. Generally speaking, Pokemon Go right now is so fun and it's so great because the focus is back on player experience and player enjoyment, and that has been awesome. And you can see it through key features. I understand that the Pokemon Go Pass was brought out, I think, when Niantic still had the game, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not like a Scopely thing, but the Go Pass was a great addition and has continued to be a great addition. Through the Go Pass, everyone gets encounters with free legendaries like once a month, which is or one free legendary once a month, which is amazing. A bunch of awesome items and rewards, a bunch of encounters with Pokemon, and if you do pay to upgrade to the Go Pass Deluxe, you get more than what it's worth in the items that you get from the premium track and all of that good stuff and rewards in there. And there's a lot of great paid items. We've seen the addition of silver bottle caps, golden bottle caps, lucky trinkets, these items that basically make getting your Pokemon, like having good Pokemon, easier. Like, that's been really fun, and it feels like something that's actually worth paying for, and that's cool. And that's another thing that I think we've seen with Pokemon Go is that there's been a lot more opportunity to spend, but what you get from the money that you spend seems to give you a much bigger return and a lot more player enjoyment and a lot better experience, So it's like your money feels like it goes further and gets you more in Pokemon Go now than it did a year or two ago, and that's very exciting. Also, some things to mention, from the stuff that I was complaining about before, and a lot of us were complaining about before, things like events, right? Let's talk about the mini events, so like Sustainability Week, like those kind of events that are like 5-7 day events. They happen a couple times a month. They kind of sucked for a while there. They weren't fun. They weren't exciting, but it seems like the Pokemon Go team has found like a new strategy for these events, and they're fantastic. These events have been so fun. I've been so into it. And there's a couple of things that they're doing, right? For one, the wild spawns are much better. It does not feel like the same 5 Pokemon rotated again and again and again every single week. It's like different Pokemon for the different events. There's a lot of variety. It's super fun. So there's that. There's always a new Pokemon that's released typically. So we get one new Pokemon to hunt, which is fun. There's almost always a new shiny released. And if there's not a new shiny, then there's some sort of new costume or something. Like, there's a new something to look for, which is great. And they have a boosted shiny rate system to where every event now has boosted shiny rates somewhere in the event, whether it's a wild spawn or like right now during, this is Sustainability Week, right? Right now during Sustainability Week, we have boosted shiny rates for 2 Pokemon in the 7-kilometer eggs, so like there's always boosted. It's fun. The events are good again, and that's really exciting. That's great. Another thing too with the events to understand is that the features are fun. They're mixing it up as to what you interact with in game, right? So some events, the raids are the big thing, and you want to just basically grind raids the entire event. Some events, wild spawns are awesome. The Pokopia event was a really good example where the raids were amazing because you had, the shiny costume Dragonite and Lapras and Snorlax, or with the shiny background, the Pokobia background. So you had that. But in the wild, you had shiny costume Ditto with the background, which you could catch in the wild. So wild spawns were great and fun. Raids were great and fun. This event, eggs are really great. So we're back to like a good egg focused event. Also this event, routes are spawning the costume shiny Pokemon. And that's the only way to basically get the new costume shiny like for free in the wild is by going on routes. So like, routes are fun right now. You know what I'm saying? So it feels like the way that Pokemon Go is being ran and the way that all these events are being done is that each event like focuses on different aspects of Pokemon Go and makes it exciting and fun to play. And that's a good way to do events. So that's been fun, right? And those are just the mini events. The major events have, I think, seen one of the biggest differences. Whereas before it feels like Go Fest and the tour events for like 2 years there, just, they didn't feel something about it, you know, like they weren't that exciting. The spawns weren't that fun. The Pokemon weren't that, something about it just kind of, it felt void of life, you know, and I don't know if you guys can remember that, but like all of us were kind of complaining. And I remember last year being in Japan and all of us were just kind of like, you know, like, I guess it's good, it's Go Fest, but like, and that's kind of how the game felt around major events, with the exception of Wild Area. I think Wild Area kind of broke that, which was a really, really good thing. I'm excited to have that again this year. But the major events so far, we've only had one, technically maybe two, because Go Wild Area, but like one big major event this year in 2026, which was the Kalos Tour. And I'll be honest with you, I think that, and this may be a debatable topic, I think that the Kalos Tour has been by far the best tour event since the Kanto Tour. The Kanto Tour was the original tour event in 2020, and it was fantastic. The shinies, everything, it was also Gen 1, so like it was very fun for that reason, but the event was just done well. Shiny rates were good in the wild, it was boosted because of the pandemic, you know, the raids were great, everything was great, it was so fun. I feel like Kalos Tour this year has been the best one since. I think that it's Kanto and then Kalos and then Johto, Hoenn, and then all the other ones. Because this year with the Kalos Tour, we had a lot of cool stuff. You know, like the raids were great, the spawns were great. It was fun. It was like a week. It was a week of events for the Kalos Tour because we had the raids for the whole week, and then we had the event, and then there was like a new feature, which was super mega raids, which is silly, but it's a new feature. You know, like that was exciting. It was like a fireworks show for the event, and that's how they used to feel. All these major events like the tour events and Go Fest and all of these used to feel like Christmas, you know? And it felt like that again this year. And I think that's something that we shouldn't overlook, because that died for about 2, maybe even 3 years there, where that feeling around like Christmas morning for a Pokemon Go event, for the major ones, just wasn't really there, which is why I'm so excited. And this is getting a little into the future of the game, which we'll talk about later. But I'm very excited for Go Fest this year, and I guess I'll talk about why in a bit. But I think that the reason why I'm excited is because it seems like the major events are being taken very seriously and they feel major again. So that's super cool. Very, very excited for that. Some other things, I have like a list of things that I'm reading off of. Costume Pokemon. The costumes have been fun. You know, costume Pokemon are not new, and it seems like they're maybe more frequent. We had, speaking of Go Fest, we had Cowboy, I'm sorry, not Cowboy Hat Caterpie, but we had like a snapback Caterpie costume announced for Go Fest this year, which feels like a fun nod to like the Cowboy Hat Caterpie guy. So Mike, I hope one day you get your Cowboy Hat Caterpie, but this is pretty close, and I know he's excited about that, you know? But we've had good costume Pokemon, the return of old costume Pokemon. We have had some fun new additions like Ditto, right? Ditto with the hat. First time we ever get a Ditto costume. So I think they're doing a lot more costumes, making them more fun, and that's been so fun. And the shiny hunts for them has been so fun. So we've got more costume Pokemon. We have more special background, and this is something that I was talking about, and I kind of felt so on it, but now I'm all about it. I'm fully subscribed to the special backgrounds after the Kalos Tour week, because the special backgrounds, they're way cooler now, like way cooler. And the cool thing with the special backgrounds is you can get some of them in the wild. You don't even have to raid for them, where typically you had to raid. Community Day has special backgrounds you can get in the wild. The Ditto you could get in the wild, and these backgrounds look sick. The special backgrounds from the Road to Kalos event in January, February, Those backgrounds are nuts, and I went so hard rating them for that reason, so that's really fun. So, which brings me to a certain point. The reason why 2020 was so fun is because the focus was put on raids, and raids are like very fun. You know, obviously they're like the most expensive, so for free-to-play players, it's a little tricky to grind raids, but raids are fun, and it seems like they're bringing the fun back to Pokemon Go, and they're doing a lot more raid-focused events. And even if it's a raid-focused event, it seems like they try to balance it out as much as they can, like the raid weekends. You know, there's tons of free raid passes you can get on raid weekends. Even during Kalos Tour, there's tons of free raid passes. Like, they still do that thing, right? So if you can't spend a bunch of money on raids, they try to give you as much as possible. But obviously, if you have a bunch to spend, it's very fun, you know? But like, that's the thing. And that's why 2020 was so great, is because raids were just open and we all loved it. You know, most of us loved it. And it feels like they're bringing that feeling back. Niantic seemed to be, they like suppressed the heck out of raids because people would stay at home and remote raid, and that was like the fun thing, right? And Niantic destroyed that because they needed people to go outside and walk around so they can farm data. Again, it was not about the player experience, it was about the profitable farming of data, where now Scopely, they want to make money on Pokemon Go, so they need people to enjoy the game and want to spend money and enjoy spending money, and that's what they're doing with raids. It feels like raids are fun. It feels like I'm spending a lot more on raids right now, but I'm actually enjoying it. You know, like I'm good. I'm happy spending this. This is, you know, for me it's a job, right? But well, it's a job and a hobby, but for a lot of you it's a hobby, right? And like we all spend money on our hobbies, so it's like I don't mind spending money on Pokemon Go. I just want to feel like I'm getting what it's worth and I'm enjoying it, you know, and it felt like that was gone for a while, but it feels like it's back. So like raid events have been so fun, you know. And another thing that was happening back kind of during the golden era, the second revival of Pokemon Go, which is around 2020, is eggs, which is ironic because we were all in a like lockdown situation, but the eggs were really fun. Egg events were really fun. And I know that they were doing some of those too, but like I don't know, it just feels like there's fun eggs, the egg hatching events again. And they're like putting, like when there's a focus on it, they put a big focus on it, and the eggs are fun. So like these premium features have become fun again, it seems. And they've become like worth it again. You know, it's like worth it to spend money on raids and remote raids again. It's worth it sometimes to spend on eggs. Like that feels good. You know, again, like a lot of us are okay spending. It's a hobby, right? But it's like, we don't want to get like screwed, and it feels like we're not. So that's super cool, right? So that's a big thing. I forgot to mention, speaking of like wild spawns being good, well, wild spawns, by the way, are good again. There's a lot more biome specific spawns, so you see different Pokemon in different places, which is very cool. And then when there's an event spawning, the spawns are great and they are very specific to the event, and it's fun, right? We had wild legendaries for the 30th anniversary. Remember that wild legendaries used to exist in Pokemon Go. The last time that they did it, technically, there was two features. There were elite raids, which have since been taken out, but basically when you defeated an elite raid, you had like a 30-minute window of special spawns around that gym, which could spawn the Kanto legendary birds. That was taken away. And then during the tour events, this was Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn, during those tour events, there were wild roaming legendaries that you could get during the event. They took that away too. So we haven't really had wild legendaries as a part of Pokemon Go in kind of a long time in like a meaningful way. But for the 30th anniversary, granted this was, 30th anniversary, I don't think this is going to happen all the time, but we had wild legendaries back. And it was the craziest wild legendary event we've ever had, ever, and might ever have. Maybe. Because it seems like they're down to clown with this, so hopefully during like future major events, we see more wild legendaries, because obviously that worked. But that was cool, like they brought the wild legendaries back. That's exciting. And even things like field research and like research events have been so fun, because like either there's special backgrounds in the field research, or there's like great shinies, or, like right now, again, during the sustainability event, like the cool new costume shiny is in the 7-kilometer eggs, but it's also in the field research if you hatch 2 eggs. So if you're gonna hatch eggs, might as well double up, like the Dragonite during the Pokopia event, you could get Dragonite in the field research. You had to do raids to get it from field research, but you could get it. Like there's been good research events and like weekend events, like the research and like that's been fun and feels like good and worth playing again. And then a big thing that I want to call out, and this is something that we kept complaining about, and it rightfully so, is that it seemed like every time a new event came to Pokemon Go, something was broken. Something was broken, something wasn't working correctly. Japan and Australia always had something broken, and their events, there was so many makeup events because everything kept breaking for those poor people, like it felt like they were like guinea pigs, like just like lab rats, and they always got the bad end of the experiment. And that's just like how Pokemon Go was for like 2 years. Of everything just kept breaking. Again, like I don't know what was happening, but it seemed like someone just wasn't putting money into making sure that this was not going to break. I don't know what the initiative was on the development side of things, because I got to run a development team. I understand it's very hard to do that. Managing people's hard, and I get it. But like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? Like, a game shouldn't break every time you put an update out. Like, something's obviously wrong with the machine, not the game, So that was crazy. It was very frustrating. Doesn't happen anymore. Have you noticed that? The last 6 months, 8 months, new features have come out successfully. They're not bugged, they're not broken, and if there is, they're pretty like rapidly fixed. We've also had a ton of new events. New features, super mega Pokemon. We had like the weekly challenge stuff. There's been a lot of other random like small quality of life features and updates that have just like released really smoothly. Like, I think we can all be pretty impressed or pretty surprised, pretty happy about how smoothly the super mega raid feature released. Think about when Shadow Raids released and the whatever that crystal was that you used to like subdue the shadow Pokemon just wouldn't work. Just wouldn't work half the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't happen anymore. And super mega raids work just fine. Like, very, very cool to see that. The game runs smoothly. Things aren't really broken as much anymore. And when new events and new Pokemon and new things come out, and like, they work when they come out. That's been a big difference. And it really feels, because it's like, I don't know, man. Like, if you're thinking about like pain, right? Like a 10 out of 10 pain is going to cause a huge reaction, So you can't have like a 10 out of 10 pain, because then the whole game is broken and then everyone quits or everyone's angry, right? But if you have like a 3 out of 10 pain and it's just constant, like every event, something's broken, 3 out of 10 pain point. Next event, something's broken, 3 out of 10. That's like annoying enough to where people are going to complain, but not so annoying where people are going to like quit or revolt, So like, that was annoying. We just had like this 3 out of 10 pain the entire time because the game wasn't really working as it should. That's gone now, and that's a huge relief, and it makes the game way more fun. Like, that's super cool. So I know that I sound like I'm like really dogging on Niantic, and I have friends at Niantic and continue to work there, and I have a lot of friends who are on the Pokemon Go team, hired by Niantic, right? It's just, and I keep trying to say that like I understand how this works because it's business and like data and blah blah blah, but it's just like, man, it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like the private equity-atizing of everything. Have you noticed that? I'm pretty like into the health space. Like Sid and I have pretty much converted our entire like house over to like, we've moved away from plastics because microplastics are real and they like hurt fertility and they like give you cancer, like bad, you know what I'm saying? So we've like moved away from plastics the best that we can. We're moving all of our clothes to like organic cotton the best that we can, because polyester clothes have forever chemicals in them, and like that gets into your body and like gives you disease. Like it seems like there's a profit squeeze right now on everything in society that like has very, very negative downstream effects, which is unfortunate, right? So it feels like maybe a relief that it feels like the opposite of Pokemon Go, to where it feels like the game was just being squeezed, just squeezed for as much as they could possibly get out of it. And we were all kind of hurting because of it, and the game was hurting because of it. And then it sold effectively to private equity. It might as well have been. It sold, and it's better. We need more of that energy in the US right now, you know what I'm saying? Or in the world right now. I don't know if it's like that in Europe, but I know Europe's kind of going through a bunch of stuff right now, but like the US is just, it's weird right now with like the private equityification of everything, of where like a big firm buys something and then they just degrade the quality out of it to max profits. And it kind of feels like the opposite happened with Pokemon Go. And that's cool. It's a nice little proof of concept that can exist and it can work. Pokemon Go is probably more profitable than it ever has been, I hope, like more people are playing, the game's back, we're all spending more. Like, you don't have to like squeeze and make things terrible for the thing to be profitable, So like, I don't know, that was like my like soapbox speech right there. I really would like the world to be good and be a better place for like everyone, you know what I'm saying? And that includes not destroying people's health or people for the sake of profiting off of some sort of product, right? So Pokemon Go kind of felt like it was doing that for a second, to where it was sort of just destroying the player experience in the game, and not enough to kill it, but just enough to profit off of it, right? And kind of keep it alive. and it feels like that's over. And that like is a huge relief to me. And again, it's a nice proof of concept that like that can work in a capitalist society, you know what I'm saying? Which is great. So that's cool. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. What does this mean for the future of Pokemon Go? Oh, I said that because like, again, I get it. And I don't think the people at Niantic are evil. I don't think they're like out to get us. You know, I don't think they were out to get us. I think they were just running a business. And unfortunately the business's like KPIs, right? Like the business's goals just didn't align with the player base and the player experience anymore. And I think that's the tragedy there, the divorce of, you know, company goals and the player base. That is, I think, what causes problems, is when the company and the consumer are not trying to serve each other anymore. You know what I'm saying? That, I think, causes issues. Like, it's not like the system's not broken. It's just like the relationship that then breaks. That's what creates the thing, right? So now it feels like Scopely bought the game and has now realigned the company's goals with the community and with like the player base. And that's why things feel so good right now. And that's just great. So I'm all for that. So again, I don't think Niantic or the people at Niantic are like bad or evil or like malicious people. I just think that like incentives were no longer aligned with the player base, and now they are. And that's cool. And what does that mean for the future of Pokemon Go? Well, I think we're going to see what that means for the future of Pokemon Go in the next 6 months. I think it's going to be a great showing of what Scopely can do and what they're here to do and what this new Pokemon Go era is going to be all about. Because over the next 6 months, we're going to have Pokemon Go Fest, and we're going to have the 10th year anniversary of Pokemon Go, all within like this summer, really. And, you know, with Pokemon Go Fest, I hope that we're going to get like a huge season of Ultra unlocks, you know, so like Pokemon Go Fest will last a couple of months. Then we have the 10th anniversary, which I'm sure will be insane, you know, and I think that we're going to see some very cool things. I think that Go Fest season this year, I think this will be one of the best Go Fest seasons we have. I think it's going to be so fun. The in-person events are going to be crazy. Japan is a 7-day event this year, dude. You know, like it was a 4-day event. We all thought that was insane. It's a 7-day event this year for Japan Go Fest. Like that's crazy, you know? So like that, I cannot wait to see what happens. I think we're going to have crazy raids and spawns, and I'm going to leave Japan with 1,000 shinies is like maybe the goal, you know? So I feel like the future of Pokemon Go seems good, as long as if somebody at Scopely is watching this, please bring me in. I will consult. I'll consult for free, you know? I maybe consult for free. My time's valuable, but I'd do it to help the game. But as long as, you know, for the most part, right, the goals of the company, Scopely, who own Pokemon Go, are aligned with the player experience, I think we're going to see a fun game. I think it's going to be expensive at times. I think there's going to be raid events and egg events and paid tickets. Like that's just a part of the game. But I think that for those of us who are willing to spend, because plenty of us are, it's a hobby, it's fine to spend on a hobby. For those of us that are willing to spend, there's gonna be a lot of fun things to spend on. I think it's gonna be worth it if you can afford it. And I think it's just, the game's gonna be great. It's gonna keep being great. I think that's what we're in for. And for everybody who's free to play, it's very obvious that they have not forgotten about the free to play community. You know, they're definitely giving freebies out on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. They have these like daily events from Monday to Friday now that like boost specific aspects of the game for everybody. Even the big events, there's a lot of things you could do as a free to play player. Like the game feels like very aligned right now with like Scopely understands what we as the community like and want and value, and they're aligning the events and the game and all of that with it, and that feels good. So I think Go Fest season this year is going to be great. I think that the tour events and all of the extra stuff, I think we're going to see so many cool things come to the game. And also too, something to remember is that this year, the 30th anniversary of Pokemon Go is all about mega Pokemon, right? The main series Pokemon games are getting new mega Pokemon. The Pokemon trading card game, like the cards, which I have a YouTube channel that's all about Pokemon cards called Mystic Rips, and we rip Pokemon cards all day in this office. This era that we're currently in is all about mega Pokemon, and it's been so fun, and the cards are insane. And obviously, this year, 2026, in Pokemon Go, it's been very mega Pokemon focused, and mega Pokemon feel fun again, and they feel worth it again, which is like cool that that's what it feels like. You know, we have the new Super Max Mega Raids. We're probably going to see Mega Mewtwo over the next couple of months. It seems like that's happening. Probably in the Super Mega Raids, Super Max, whatever they're called, Super Mega Raids. So that's super cool. So it just feels like, or not feels like, but like this year's going to be all about mega Pokemon. And I think we're going to see some cool raid events, some cool new releases. So that's definitely something that you can for sure look into or look forward to, or like megas. And I think that Man, Kalos Tour was very fun, especially with the megas. It was very fun. And I think and hope that all the rest of the events and all the big mega releases are going to be the same throughout the year. I'm pretty confident in that. So again, I feel like I spent a lot of the video today just ragging on Niantic. And again, I want to reiterate that I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they meant harm. I don't think they're malicious. I think they're just a business. And they won. You know, like, you gotta give it to them, dude. They made one of the greatest games of all time. They made the game. You have to give them credit for that, right? They made Pokemon Go. They made one of the greatest one of the greatest video games of all time. They ran it for nearly a decade, made a god-awful amount of money, legally farmed as much data as they possibly could from it, which is like gold, sold it for $4 billion and cashed out. Like, that's insane. And then retained the data, I guess, and now they're selling the data. Like that is like the biggest gaming tech win you could possibly want as a development studio, right? So that's crazy. So good for them for that. And I'm glad that they didn't kill the game on their way out, which they could have, and they didn't. That's nice. We appreciate that. And the deal that they struck up with Scopely and allowing the existing Pokemon Go team to stay on Pokemon Go and like really focus on it. I want to give like tip the cap to the existing Pokemon Go team who is still working on the game. You guys are killing it. This is fantastic. So thank you to Scopely for doing what they're doing, strategically aligning with the community. And thank you to the Pokemon Go team for really, really killing it and really feeling and hearing the community and making sure that like updates align with what we vibe with. So let me know what you think in the comments. This was a funny video. I didn't mean to ramble the entire time, but here we are. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you in the next one, shall ya? Because there's going to be a lot of next ones. Pokemon goes crazy. So see you later.